Blood of my blood.
Mina?
Yes.
Answer me, Mina. Are you with him?
Yes, I am with him.
Where are you?
I don't know. It is all dark.
What do you hear?
The lapping of water. I hear it on the outside.
Then you are on a ship.
Yes.
What else do you hear?
There's the creaking of an anchor chain.
What are you doing?
Still. So still. It is like death. It is like death.
We contacted a friend at London Harbour. According to the shipyard's lists, the only sailing ship that left for the Black Sea yesterday was the Tsarina Katrina, bound for Bulgaria. My friend told me that somehow, before the ship sailed, a man came alongside, all in black, driving a cart with a great box in it. By himself, he lifted the box down from the cart and carried it below deck. No one remembers having seen him after that. A heavy mist came up over the ship until sailing time. The rest of London Harbour remained completely clear.
We made our plans. The average sailing time from London to the Black Sea is 3 weeks. We can travel overland to the same place in 3 days. We shall be there waiting for him when he arrives.
We arrived in Bulgaria about 5 o'clock on the third day. Mina feels stronger. Every morning before sunrise and just before sunset, she speaks to Van Helsing in a trance.
Are you with him, Mina? Tell me, are you with him?
I am with him.
What can you see?
Nothing. All is dark.
What can you hear?
I can hear the waves lapping against the ship and the water rushing by. The wind is high. I can hear it in the sails and the foam.
So, the Tsarina Katrina is still at sea, moving hastily to Bulgaria. The Count cannot cross running water, so he cannot leave the ship without being observed.
What do you hear, Mina?
Lapping waves and rushing water. Darkness. Darkness.
We waited for a whole week, and the ship had not reported in. Finally, a telegram came. Tsarina Katrina reported this morning. It was seen entering the Galatz harbour at 1 o'clock today. We had not expected it to dock there.
Galatz? Galatz is in Romania. 38 hours from here. And the first train for Galatz will not leave until tomorrow. My friends, we have lost.
I am with you. I can see nothing. Nothing. I can hear men's voices calling in the roar and bite of the wind. I can feel the air blowing.
We set out at once, in hopes that we will make it there in time. We're due between 2 and 3 in the morning, but already we are 3 hours behind.
What's going on? I feel something pass me like a cold wind. I can hear far-off confused sounds as of men talking in another language. Fierce falling water and the howling of wolves. There is another sound. How queer a sound, like...
Like what? Speak, Mina, speak. I beg you to speak.
We arrived in Galatz and went immediately to the captain of the Tsarina Katrina.
Yes, I transported a box for a man by the name of Dracula. A gentleman picked it up for him. His name was Emanuel Hildesheim.
We sought out Mr. Hildesheim.
Are you Mr. Hildesheim?
I am.
You unloaded a box yesterday.
I did. It was ordered by a man named Johann Kailev.
Do you know where we can find him?
Yeah, at the morgue. This morning they found him dead inside the churchyard of St. Peter. They found him dead with his throat torn open.
How shall we proceed, Dr. Van Helsing?
There are two ways in which Dracula can get back to his own castle, by land or by water.
The most likely river is the Seraph.
We shall split up. Seward and I will charter a steam launch and follow him up the river. Van Helsing, take Mina and keep her safe. Take a train to Bucharest, and from there...
From there we shall follow the route that Harker took to Borgo Pass when he first came to Dracula's castle. If you have not caught him before then, we shall meet Dracula there.
We arrived at Bucharest at noon. Van Helsing and I procured a carriage here. We start in an hour. Our enemy is still on the river.
We can make good speed up the river at night. There's plenty of water, and the banks are wide apart.
We started out. By evening the next day, we still had no news. We heard that a large boat went up the river before us, going at more than usual speed.
For 3 days we've been driving. The country gets wilder as we go. By morning, we should reach the Borgo Pass.
After 5 days on the water, trailing Dracula, we have left the river. We've got horses, and we follow on the track along the river towards Borgo Pass. We are armed.
Look! Quick! There they are now, heading west!
Through the dawn, we could see a group of Slovaks some miles before us, dashing along the river with their wagon. On it is a great box. Dracula must have hired them to transport his precious earth while he lay asleep in the coffin.
Late in the afternoon, we leave Borgo Pass.
Van Helsing, look. Look!
We could see a long way all around. Far off, beyond the white waste of snow, like a black ribbon curling between us and the river, not far off, came a group of men, mounted Slovaks, riding along. In the midst of them was a wagon that swept from side to side, and on the wagon was a great box.
Look!
We see two horses following fast, coming up from the south. Seward and Harker were closing in from the other direction. The Slovaks with their heavy wagons are losing their ground. Our friends must be not more than a mile behind. Now the wagon is quite closer. We can see the great box lying gravely. Now they are almost upon us. Suddenly, the wagon's front wheel smashes into a great rock buried in the snow. The wagon turns over on its side and jams against the stone. The horses tear loose from their tracers and bolt, and the Slovaks scatter and vanish after them. Then, silence, silence, like it comes after ringing a bell. As the box falls, it empties the dirt onto the snow.
Look, his face.
It is Dracula, sprawled out on the ground, stiff and twisted in the smear of his own holy earth. Dracula's face is old-looking. The skin is like paper. Seward and Harker arrive on their horses to the grim scene before me. Dr. Seward, there is no time. Look at the sun.
Sunset.
In 1 minute, it is sunset, and he is forever lost to us. Seward, have you the stake of wood and the hammer?
Yes!
Now, Seward, pray for us. Kneel down and pray.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Forgive us our trespasses. Lead us not into temptation.
Harker!
But deliver us
Put
from
the stake of
evil.
wood over
Thine
his
is the
heart.
kingdom, the power,
Do not be
and the
afraid,
glory now
Harker.
and forever.
Do not look into his
The Lord
eyes.
is my shepherd.
The hammer.
I shall not want.
Now,
He maketh me
Harker.
to lie down
Strike.
in green pastures. He
Strike.
leadeth me beside the still waters. He
Strike.
restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths
others
of
can't.
righteousness for his name's sake.
Somehow I can hear him
Yea,
speaking.
though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
Everything
for thou
stood
art
still.
with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies.
I shall never forget that moment. The look on poor Mina's face as she stands there, the angry scar standing out on her throat, her eyes like living coals in the last red of the sunset. She tears the stake and hammer out of my hands with the strength of an animal.
Mina, do you know what you have done, woman? Do you know what you have done to us? You have released him. The evil is free.
Look! The sun!
As we look down at Dracula, The eye sees the sinking sun, and the hate in them turns to triumph.
Flesh of my flesh, come to me, my love. Come into the night, in the darkness you have served me well. My love, my bride, my...
Ladies and gentlemen, all the evidence is now before you. I've added nothing, and to the best of my knowledge I have omitted nothing that might help to throw light upon the extraordinary events of the year 1891, which culminated on that terrible evening in Borgo Pass. There remains only this one last report of Dr. Abraham Van Helsing.
When Mina Harker seized the stake and hammer from her husband, I believe she was under some form of hypnosis. She herself remembers nothing. But whatever influence was at work on her, she must, at the last moment, have rejected it. For at the exact instant the sun disappeared, it was Mina Harker who drove the stake through the heart of the thing that called itself Dracula. At that same instant, even as we looked, the wound on the side of her throat disappeared. As for Dracula, before the screams of the creature had died from our ears, the whole body crumbled into dust and passed from our sight. In his final moment, there was in his face a look of peace, such as I could never have imagined might have rested there.
This has been a Stalwart Theater production of Dracula. Story by Bram Stoker. Adapted by Orson Welles and Eric Michny. Starring
Lucas Zellers as Arthur Seward.
Nate Spanos as Dr. Abraham Van Helsing.
Colin Luther as Jonathan Harker.
Amy O'Clair as Mina Harker.
Elise Parsons as Lucy Westenra.
Bobby Moon as Dracula.
Chris Johnson as driver, ship captain, hand one, news vendor, and captain of the Tsarina Katrina.
Joel Durkin as first mate, hand two, news announcer, and Emmanuel Hildesheim.
Dracula was directed by Eric Michny. Sound design and mixing by Andrew Bashaw and Jake Berry. Foley and sound effects by Elise Parsons. Music by Andrew Bashaw. Subscribe to our podcast to continue getting our future productions as they are released. Our next production is a dramatic recording of Frank L. Baum's book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, coming later this year. If you enjoyed this production and are interested in contributing to what we do or would like to become a sponsor, visit stalwarttheater.org.